What is up? How you doing? This is your host, Andre Günther, and you tuned in to another episode of the Foreigner Podcast, where you will be exposed to information about everything related to exchange programs or living abroad. So if you are in any way interested in that kind of stuff, keep listening. And as always, this episode will have content that can be substantial to your or anyone else's exchange and their experience. So please help me spreading this podcast by leaving a positive review wherever you found this episode and share it with your friends and family and those you may think that are thinking about going abroad and want some more information. So enough of that, and as always, I'm going to tell you what is this episode going to be about. Today, I'm going to do another single episode, so no interview today, and I will be talking about the first day of school. So what does that mean? First, I will talk about the first days of school in general. So that's not a thing special to any of the countries that I went to or that I know, but this is all about just school in general. I try to be as generalizing as possible. And in that thought, what we'll be talking about today is, after the school in general, the first day in the USA, because, well, that's where I was an exchange student, and the first day in Germany, which I can talk about since I'm a German, and I experience first days every year here. So that's gonna be it for the first days of school, and as always, there will be a quote of the episode and an item recommendation for you. So keep tuned for that. That's also gonna be some really nice stuff. Some of you, when you will hear that, will laugh and really like my recommendation, so stay tuned. It's gonna be great. But now let's get to the first days in general. My ultimate first recommendation for you would be, as long as there's no school uniform in the country you're going to wear nice clothes. That's really important, since first impressions are, in any country, really important. So try to wear nice clothes. The first day of school is, in every country that is not having a school uniform, the day where you wear good clothes. I will be talking about that later in the USA segment, but that's an important thing to keep in mind. The first impression is always very important, so do wear nicer clothes than you would do on a usual day. And the second thing that plays into the same category is smell good. When people are next to you, they will smell you, and if you stink, you will have a bad impression that lasts for a long time, and you don't want that. So you want to smell good. So that's why put on some extra cologne, some perfume, some deodorant. Just don't smell like a grave. Because smell is in every culture that I know of an important thing, and they will watch out for that. And smelling bad is not considered a good thing, so don't do it. But, yeah, no, don't do it. There's no but to that. No, just don't smell bad. Please don't do it. Smell good. It's the first day. After that, you can at least not care about your cologne that much. But the first day is really important. So all of that plays into the category of just making a good first impression. And that's what you gotta try. I mean, it's totally normal that you won't be the perfect person for the foreign culture at the first day, but just try to make a good impression and really work on that, and don't just think, oh well, it's gonna work somehow. I mean, I've got longer time, they don't have to get me the first day. No, a lot of cultures really care about the first impression, so try to make a good one. For that, you need to be nice and open, have an open body language, an open stand, but don't be obnoxious or annoying to anyone. So always communicate through your body language, through your open face, your open eyes, your open mouth when talking to someone, that you are willing to talk, but don't just come up to random people and just keep texting at them, like throwing out your words. That's just gonna be annoying and obnoxious, so don't do that. You don't want to be that guy or girl that just everyone knows because she or he is just talking so much. You don't want to be that person. You just want to be nice and open and communicative. And for that, it's also an important thing to smile. Just have a nice smile on your face. Don't look like you can't do anything but smile. So don't be creepy about it, but just have a nice smile when you're not talking to someone. And that won't have to be all the day. You don't have to be silently grinning all the day. But when you feel that someone's looking at you, just have a nice smile. Just look friendly, look welcoming, and look like you actually want to be there and you're enjoying it. If you look like you enjoy the experience and you have a good time, people are going to be wanting to talk to you more and get to know you. So that's going to help you a lot. And all of that is a good way to start, but here's a really, really important thing. You need to be watchful, and you need to try less to focus on what is said, especially if you don't really know the language of the country you just went to, but try to focus on how it is said, and try to understand the relations between the students and to the teachers, because that will give you a great advantage in avoiding weird or bad situations with either of them. So try to figure out, how are they talking to the teacher? Are there differences in how they talk to the teachers? Like, do they talk differently to younger teachers than older teachers? Or how do they pay respect? And what do all of them do and what do only some do? And try to get on the reactions of the teacher so that you can try to imitate that. Because if you just approach them in the way it is normal in your culture, it may be different in the culture of your host country. Like, Germans are very direct, so of course we're polite, but when we talk to teachers, we just come up to them and say our problem and ask them. That may not be the thing in other cultures, where you have to wait for them to ask you what your problem is and just look like you have a problem or something. I don't know. In the US we could always talk to them too, but there may be cultures where that's not the thing. So try to find out on the very first day, how they communicate and how their way of speaking and interacting with each other is. Like, where's the respect? How do they show that they understand, and just how do they behave? That's a really good thing for you to know, and that's going to help you a lot to get a high reputation amongst the teachers and the other students. So try to give that a big focus on your first day. And the last thing that should be kind of obvious, but I just want to repeat it. Don't be like in your face about being an exchange student and being foreign. You don't have to like look like an elite just by saying or putting out there that you're so foreign and you're so cool and you're so worldly and everyone else is not. Don't be that. That's just annoying. But I mean, that should be clear, so you shouldn't really have to think about that point a lot. Getting to the first bigger thing is the first day in the USA. I could talk about that since, I mean, I had a first day in the USA, so I know what helped me and what did not help me, and I talked to some people about that. So, which is why I think that I'm pretty qualified to tell you about that. But as always, this is relying on personal experiences, so it may be different for you. You have to find your way for your exchange. That's always the premise in my podcast. But let's get to it, and I don't want to warn you of any more things that might happen. So, at first, don't be too worried about being alone in the US. The situation that you should sit in your corner during break alone and have nobody to talk to, that won't happen. As soon as they get that you're an exchange student, they're going to be all over you, going to be asking you questions. And of course, they won't really mean it, but that's just their way of being. Like, Americans are very superficial. I will talk about that later. So they will be asking you questions. They will try to be around you. They will maybe even ask you for a Snapchat or whatever. So you don't have to be worried that you're all alone and don't know what to do and who to talk to. That won't happen. So I really want to take that fear, if you should have it, away from you. And also a benefiting part to that is that sports usually have started before school starts. So if you already joined a club or any kind of after-school activity, you will already be doing that and have met people there that also will be in your age group. So you will be maybe in the company of a few friends in air quotations, or just people that you know. So make sure to be overly polite to your teachers as well, because that will make them like you. Especially if you're German, just be the way you would talk to German teachers. Because I saw that in the US, the way of talking between students and teachers is much more companionate, if that's a word. They're more like friends, other than the dominant teacher and the submersive student. So if you're very polite to them, they're gonna be, oh, that's nice, that's so European of you, or whatever. So they will definitely make you stand out and be different from the other American students. And most of the teachers in the US will actually like that. So, yeah, just be respectful and be more polite than your American classmates. But I mean, in the first day, everyone will be polite and nice. So, that's also a thing in relation. So you don't have to bow in front of every teacher and give them a personal spiritual dance to show them how much you appreciate them. That's just over the top. As I said earlier in the other segment, be watchful and see how they communicate. And if you find out a way how they show respect, just implement that in your way of approaching the teacher. That will help you a lot. And if you feel comfortable enough, you can introduce yourself to a teacher or to each teacher after the class, but you need to be very quick because it can make the passing times really close and you might have to run over the hallway. But just say like, oh yeah, by the way, I'm the exchange student. I'm sorry if I don't really understand all of your classes. If I have a question, can I ask you, or something like that. They will all tell you that you can ask them. That's just a way of being nice in the US. So the introducing yourself to the teacher will make you be in their head, and they will like you more because they think that's a nice gesture of you. That's why you should definitely consider doing that, but keep in mind that you don't have to do it, especially not on the first day. You will need quite some toughness, and you always have to make the passing time, so don't make it too long. If you have the feeling that a teacher just likes to talk and talk and talk and never stop, maybe you shouldn't do that if the passing times are short and your class is on the other side of the school. Because the second point in this matter would be on point and do not be late. Because being late on the first day is not gonna be a positive thing for you. And that sounds pretty obvious. I mean, being late on the first day is really not a thing considered good anywhere. But it's important, and I myself almost came too late because I couldn't find my classroom. And I didn't introduce myself to the teacher afterwards. So pay attention on that and try to be on point. And as well as in every culture, as especially in the US, you should wear good clothes. The first day of school is where everyone tries to show off and make a good first impression. After that, they usually let that hang a little, and some come in school to pajama or whatever they want to wear. But the first day is a nice wear dress day. So you should definitely wear something better than you would usually wear, but don't overdress it. A button shirt and a jeans, yeah, that should be good enough for the US. So that's still more formal than just wearing a t-shirt or baggy pants and a sweatshirt. It's not overdressed. So that's always a good recommendation for you to wear on the first day. Connected to the formal wear stuff, there's also a big thing about the US that is kind of special to the US, and that would be that you can definitely show some national pride. And now that's a difficult part to follow me. So if you don't agree with me, you really don't have to do that. That's just a thing that I would say. Because in the first day, all your classmates will just register you as the foreigner anyway. So why shouldn't you just go with it? I mean, it will be easier for them to remember you if they just directly connect you to your country. I mean, they will do that anyway, but it happened to me that they just kind of got that I was European, but not exactly where I was from. So some said, oh, hey, Spain, or something like that. I mean, they will all call you by your country at some point. I was Germany for a long time for one of my teachers until I finally spoke up. But that's a different story. So they will just connect you to your country. They won't really care on the first day what your name is, where you're from, yeah, but how you're doing, they won't really care about that much. So they will just connect you to your country. So I think, why shouldn't you just go with it and, use that as your advantage? Because it's always a thing how they act but it's also a thing how you take advantage of that. And if they anyway register you as the German or the foreigner, why not make it your specialty? But that's a very personal decision. I was against that. I'm not that big of a fan of nationalism, so and patriotism, so I just didn't go with that. But you can definitely try it. It's definitely a thing that I can imagine being helpful, at least to get into people's brains and minds on the first day. But also keep in mind here that you shouldn't go over the top with it. Like, don't swing your flag, sing your anthem all the time, and just be annoying and obnoxious, as I said in the chapter earlier. So always try to have it in a good relation to everything else. And don't worry that you will stick out with your country and not your personality. That's just an American thing, because Americans are very superficial and they won't really care about your personality on the first day or even in the first week. For them, you will be the German. At first, you will carry all, or whatever country you're from, and for the first days, you're going to carry all the stereotypes, and magically, you're going to fit all of them. But once they get to know you better over a longer period of time, they will stop. But for my experience, for the first time, for most of them, I just was the funny German guy, and that was pretty much it. So don't really worry about that. It's not going to be like that all for your year. I mean, for some people it will, but for your friends it will not. They will get to know you pretty quickly, I would say, and then start caring about your personality more than about your nationality. Yeah, that's pretty much it to wear what you should wear and how you should give yourself. And here's another thing to what to say or what to do. So don't be afraid to ask for help. In America, the people are very helpful and they won't be annoyed or anything by you asking them. It's totally fine and they feel like they accomplished something. They feel helpful. They feel good if they can help you. So even if it's a stupid thing or it appears to be stupid for you that you need help with, just ask someone. They're all going to be helping you. They won't get mad at you for that, especially not on the first day where most of the students that are in 9th and 10th grade, no, 9th grade only because of the new rules, that are in 9th grade will be new too, so teachers will have students that are new to the school every day and the whole day, and every teacher will have them, so don't be afraid to ask. And a good thing of talking a lot is that Americans will hype your accent. Their accent. They're they care a lot about accents, and they will hype it and they will be so happy, and everyone will tell you that your accent sounds so great and it's so funny, and they will ask you to talk something in a German accent and try to imitate other accents, and whatever accent you talk in, I mean, they will really, really love it. So use that to just get around, because it happened to me that I was just talking normally and they're like, oh my god, you gotta come with me and talk to this guy, he's gonna find it so funny how you talk. And so I just got introduced to other people just because they thought my accent was super funny. That's why, yeah, do that and use that for your advantage. As I said, it's one thing how they register you and how they take you, but it's a different thing how you go with it and how you use that for your own advantage. That should be pretty much it to the USA. And now I want to get to the first day of school in Germany. And here the biggest thing is probably that other in the US, you will have to do the first step at talking. Because oftentimes Germans are a little afraid to talk English because they think their English is too bad and they make a fool of themselves. So if you speak some German, or if you're good at English and you want to get to know people, on the first days especially, you will have to do the first step at talking to them. So really don't feel afraid to do that. It's just normal. And keep in mind that Germans may seem cold and unfriendly and like they don't want to talk to you, but they're really not. And they actually want to talk to you, at least most of them. And they do interest for you, but they're just scared to talk to you because they think that they'll make a bad impression. So you need to, as I said, do the first step and are the active part of the conversation. And once you get to know people better and you get into a habit of talking with them, they'll start talking with you too. And it's going to develop pretty quickly. And as always, orientate, do what your classmates do. So if they all go outside on the schoolyard during break, just go with them and try to meet them, try to talk to them, and do what they do. If they stand up before class, that's a thing we do in East Germany. Whenever a teacher enters the room and tries to start a class period with us, we all stand up and the teacher says, "Hello, class," and we say, "Hello, teacher," and then everybody sits down and the teacher starts doing the class. So if your classmates just all suddenly stand up and look at the teacher, you should maybe do the same thing. And on the first day, it's always the thing that before the first hour, which will usually be at your class teacher, which is the teacher designated to your class, everyone will try to get a good seat for the entire year, since you're, for most of the classes, the same group of people. You will have a fixed seat order. So if you can't or don't want to sit in the front or in the back, you should maybe find a seat somewhere in the middle or where you like it, to just get a good seat, because that seat will probably be your seat for most of the classes for the entire year, which is why you should really try to get a good seat, one that you like. It may not make that big of a difference where you sit for the teacher, but if it does for you, then definitely pay attention to that. And here too, which I didn't mention in the US because they explain pretty easily and understandably, you need to ask someone for help with a lunch if you don't understand that, because it can be very confusing in German schools, especially in mine. Like, we're a pretty small school with a small canteen. Is that a word? Cafeteria. Cafeteria is probably the better word. And lots of kids go there, so there are like times where older students are not allowed to go to eat, and they're reserved for the younger students. And there will be different times where people are there. Like, everyone gets in a habit of when to go to eat lunch, and like, we have it right after the time for the little kids ends. There's like a 5-minute period of where the rows to stand in are really short, so that's where you gotta go there, and that's what you gotta find if you don't want to stand there for a long time for your food. But also, if you find friends and they have a designated time that they eat at, just because it's their habit, you definitely can follow them. And standing in line in a row with your friends is definitely more enjoyable, even if it's for a longer time, than staying in the line alone and waiting. So that is definitely a thing you can ask someone from your class to help you with, and they'll probably take you to lunch with them. They might not talk to you a lot, but they definitely can explain to you what is actually happening, so that helps. And here as well in Germany, you should introduce yourself to the teachers, either before or after the class is ending, because that's also a thing that helps the teachers to get to know you and to recognize you as the foreign kid and the exchange student, and they will understand it better if you have problems with their teaching. And here it's depending on when the teacher enters the room. Like, some teachers enter the room 5 minutes before class starts and get orientated. Is that still a word? I'm not even sure. To just get their stuff where they want to have it and to get ready for class, and some just walk in with the moment the bell rings, and some leave right after class, and some stay in the classroom a little longer and pack all their stuff. So depending on that, you should introduce yourself to the teacher and try to talk as much German as you can. If you can talk some German, if not, then speak English. Most teachers are able to speak some English, and they're gonna be really surprised, because they're not used to exchange students talking up, in a sense, like just having the initiative. So you will definitely stick out in their memories, and that's gonna help you a lot. And they will be much more friendly to you if you should do that. What else do I want to talk about? Yeah, the Germans are usually people that like habits, and they're not very spontaneous. So just keep that in mind also for the first day. Don't be like, oh yeah, we have 5 minutes of class left, let's go and get a water or whatever. Or let's go, I don't know, go outside for just a minute. They will have their habits, and you'll have to find in them. You'll have to fit in them. So if it's not the time for them to go eat, then they won't want to go eat. Or if it's their break where they copy all the homework they didn't do, well, you should respect that. And you don't even have to try to like break that kind of habit. That's just the way German schools, yeah, German schools work. They're very much into habits. But you can always ask about why you're doing this and what you're doing. They'll explain that to you. And also a thing that you can do when introducing yourself to the teacher is to ask them for the clubs. In Germany called AGs, Arbeitsgruppen, that stands for work groups, which are like the after-school activities. Because every school has different ones to offer depending on what teachers they are, because the teachers are leading them. So definitely ask your teacher on what is available, and they will probably help you as long as they're not in a rush and need to get to a different house or room real quick. They'll help you and explain it to you. So that's a thing to do in the big break when you see a teacher in the hallway, or if you find a teacher that you have class with, talk to them about that. And also a thing that is very unique on Germans is that they usually do better conversations during using text than actually talking. So that's why get yourself the app WhatsApp, which is used all over Germany, and get their numbers of your German friends very quickly so that you can talk to them over WhatsApp. Lots of them find it easier to open up and to meet, in quotation marks, someone over WhatsApp, which is not them standing right in front of you and having to react to you immediately. So that will help you a lot if you have a WhatsApp that you use to communicate with them. And that should already be it for the part first days in school. And let's get to the quote of the day. Today it is, "Man cannot discover new oceans unless he has the courage to lose sight of the shore," by André Gide, a French writer, and he got the Nobel Prize for Literature. And I think that it's a really nice quote, since it also kind of applies to like social relations, because you need to jump in those social contacts and discover them on your own, and you don't have to rely on somebody else to introduce them to you, especially in your exchange year. You have to meet new people, you have to ask someone who does something that you don't understand what they're doing, and try to get to know people, because there, especially in Germany, there won't be people that say, "Oh, you sound funny, let's talk to this person," or "Hey, I know a person that would love to talk to you." They're just gonna be for themselves, and they might talk to you, but they won't introduce you to anyone else. So you need to meet a lot of people. And that's kind of what this quote means to me, because losing sight of the shore is getting out of your normal social group to discover new oceans, which would be new social contacts. Yeah, that's what you gotta do. And to get over with this episode, let's get to the product of the day. Today it's a movie that I loved a lot in the US. It's Mean Girls. Yeah, you might laugh now because it's a very stereotypical and over-the-top movie, but it's great and it's funny, and it surprisingly adequately pictures American schools, of course in over-the-top fashion, but it helped me a lot to understand like some kind of things going on in the US and especially in the American schools, even though they might not be the most accurate things pictured, and somehow you will be able to relate to them, which is why I would definitely recommend watching this girl, especially if you are planning to go to the movie. What am I even saying? If you're planning to go to US, you should watch this movie. Oh my god. You see, it's late already. my words are just getting out of order, which is why I just want to end this podcast right here and right now. So as always, please, please, please share and like this episode of the podcast. You can go to my internet website, theforeignerpodcast.com, and sign up for the free newsletter, The Foreigner Podcast Monthly, and you will be sent a link in the confirmation email that goes to Mediafire, where you can download my ebook that I put out there free for everyone interested. It's called 5 Exchange Student Itches Scratched. So I solved 5 big problems of exchange students or wanting to be exchange students, which is why you should definitely check that out and sign up for my free newsletter. And don't worry about the newsletter. It's just gonna be like 5 minutes to read, and it's gonna be once a month, which is why, you don't really have to worry about that. And you won't get spammed. And of course, you can always unsubscribe from the podcast and from the newsletter. Yeah, if you subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, you can also unsubscribe from the podcast if you don't like me anymore. But if you do like me, then please share me and please help me grow. Thank you so very much for listening. And this episode was a mess. I'm sorry. It will be better. If you have any tips or advice for me to make it better, send me an email at theforeignerpodcast@gmail.com. And that will be it. Goodbye, and thank you very much for listening.